My professor said, "This paper is clearly written by AI. You're getting expelled." I said, "I wrote part of it in front of you. I'm a first-gen college student. Parents immigrated from Guatemala before I was born. Dad works construction. Mom cleans office buildings. Neither of them graduated high school. I'm the first person in my family to even apply to college, let alone get in. English is technically my first language, but Spanish was spoken at home, so my writing has always been a little off. Teachers have told me my sentences sound foreign, even though I was born in Texas. I've had a C in Professor Finsley's English comp class all semester, not because I don't try, because he grades like he gets paid per red mark. My papers come back bleeding. Awkward phrasing. Unclear structure. This doesn't sound natural. I stopped going to office hours in October because he made me feel stupid. But the final paper was worth 40% of my grade. I couldn't fail this class. My scholarship required a 3.0, and I was hanging on by a thread, so I actually tried. 3 weeks of work. Outline, draft, revision, more revision. I even went back to office hours twice because I was desperate. Handed it in feeling proud for once. A week later, I got an email that changed everything. Academic integrity violation. Please report to the dean's office. Professor Finsley emailed me before I could even request a meeting. Don't bother coming to office hours. I forwarded everything to the dean. I went anyway. Stood in his doorway while he pretended to grade papers. The AI detector flagged your paper at 92%. I ran it twice to be sure. I didn't use AI. Your writing has been mediocre all semester. Barely passing. Now suddenly you turn in something polished? The software doesn't lie. Maybe I just tried harder. He finally looked up. The hearing is Friday. Save your excuses for them. The hearing. Academic integrity board. 3 faculty members, the dean, and me versus a percentage on a screen. I spent the next 3 days spiraling. Looked up how AI detectors actually work. Found out they flag unusual sentence structures, non-standard phrasing, patterns that don't match typical American English. Everything teachers had criticized about my writing for years was now evidence I wasn't human. I called my dad that night, told him I might get expelled. He didn't yell, didn't panic, just asked one question. Did you do the work? Yes. Then prove it. You keep everything, mijo. You always have. He was right. That night I dumped out my backpack and found every draft, every note, every outline. And at the very bottom, folded and wrinkled, was a feedback sheet from Professor Finsley. My second office hours visit. He'd written, "Excellent work. This section is exactly what I want. Keep it as is." That section was in my final paper, word for word, because he told me not to change it. The hearing was in a small conference room, long wooden table, the dean at the head, 3 professors on one side, Professor Finsley next to them with a laptop open, me on the other side, alone. The dean read the charges: academic dishonesty, unauthorized use of AI, potential expulsion, scholarship termination. Professor Finsley went first. Projected the AI detector results onto the wall, red highlights everywhere. 92% probability of AI generation. He clicked to the next slide. My previous papers side by side with the final. This student has produced C-level work all semester. Then suddenly the writing is polished, sophisticated. He looked at me. That kind of improvement doesn't happen in 3 weeks. Not without help. The dean turned to me. "Would you like to respond?" I unzipped my backpack, pulled out a folder. Every draft, every outline, every note. I did the work, all of it. You can see the changes I made from version to version. Professor Finsley barely glanced at them. Drafts prove nothing. They could have been generated alongside the final paper. I expected that. So I pulled out the last item in my folder, a single wrinkled piece of paper, slid it across the table. Then explain this. The dean picked it up. Her eyebrows lifted. What am I looking at? Professor Finsley's feedback from my second office hours visit, November 14th. He read a paragraph I was working on and told me to keep it exactly as is. I pulled out my final paper, found the paragraph, read it aloud, word for word identical to what he'd praised 3 weeks before the deadline. If I generated this paper with AI, how did Professor Finsley give me feedback on it 2 weeks before I turned it in? The dean looked at Professor Finsley. "Did you write this?" He squinted at the paper. "I meet with many students. I can't be expected to remember every conversation. This has your signature." One of the other professors compared it to a document Professor Finsley had signed earlier. "It's the same handwriting." The dean folded her hands.